Hi everybody. Today we're going to be looking at comparatives and superlatives in English, part of our review of the basics of English grammar. So as we look at comparatives and superlatives, we're going to first talk about making comparisons in English. Now the key point to really pay attention to is that when we're making a comparison, we are comparing two different things. Because we're describing the characteristics of something, we'll use adjectives. We can make an equal comparison using the structure as. For example, irradiating meat is as safe as pasteurization. We can make this into an unequal comparison by adding not. Mulino Bianco cakes are not as healthy as the cakes my father bakes at home. We can also make an unequal comparison using comparative adjectives plus than. For example, the Impossible Burger is more sustainable than the Beyond Burger. The Beyond Burger is less sustainable than the Impossible Burger. As we look at comparative adjectives, we'll see that the forms are different depending on the base adjective. Julia is taller than her sister. The sunsets in Sicily are more beautiful than in Sardinia. Steve was less happy than John was at the news. When we want to compare a quality that has one syllable, we simply add the ending "er." Lavazza's red label coffee is stronger than their gold label coffee. So comparative and superlative forms are determined by the number of syllables the adjective or adverb you want to use contains. So we can see that when you have one syllable or two syllables that end in y, this will be different from an adjective or adverb with three or more syllables. Let's look at some examples. Sweet has one syllable. Easy has two syllables and ends in y. E-Z, easy. Interesting and beautiful have three or more syllables. So you're going to get the following comparative forms. Sweeter, easier, more interesting, more beautiful. Notice this is the positive comparative. So sweeter, easier, more interesting, more beautiful. These are positive comparisons. To make a negative comparison, it's going to be all made the same way. Less sweet, less easy, less interesting, less beautiful. Okay, just a couple quick notes on the short comparatives. So sweet, sweeter, easy, easier, fun. Now, fun has one syllable, right? So technically, according to all the rules, we should have funner, which is actually what I say. My wife, however, and she is of course correct, says more fun. But there can be some disagreement about that. Without disagreement, there are a couple. Quiet, we say quieter, even though it's a two-syllable adjective. Narrow, narrower. Then clever, some people say cleverer, some people say more clever, and that is really mostly a case of cleverer. Sounds a little funny, sounds a little strange, but it is completely acceptable. So going back to the main point, the main idea, we use comparatives to compare two different things. Instead, we use superlatives to express that in a group of three or more, one is the most or the least, in absolute terms among the possibilities. Looking at the use of articles, we often use a in a comparison. She is a better designer than he is. And in this case, a means an example of something. If we want to use the superlative to make an absolute statement, we use the article the, and then of course we're going to add est to one-syllable adjectives or adverbs, or two-syllable ones that end in y, so we get Chaco's gelato is the tastiest in Parma. Pointing out a couple of spelling rules. Of course, when you have the short adjectives that end in E, we're just going to add R. So for example, this math problem is simple. This problem is simpler than that one. Same kind of rule for superlatives. When your adjective, your short adjective's in E, you just add st. He didn't study, so he can't answer even the simplest question. Okay, now a couple of annoying spelling rules. If the adjective or adverb ends with a vowel, A, E, I, O, or U, and a consonant, you must double the last consonant. Her house is big. Her house is bigger than mine, because you have the vowel I and then the consonant G. Her house is the biggest that I have ever seen in my life. For two-syllable adjectives that end in Y, you delete the Y and you add the ending IER to make a comparison and IEST to create the superlative. The homework is easy. Your group's homework was easier than our group's. It is not fair that your group's homework is always the easiest. And then there is a group of exceptions that are completely irregular. So, bad, worse, worst. Good, better, best. Little, less, least. Much, more, most. Far, farther, farthest. All right, you can get a ton more information, of course, on our Pinterest board, pinterest.com/unblockyourenglish. There you'll find Unblock Your English with Karen and Fraser. Log in if you haven't done so before and follow our board. All right,